Hello, this is Anna Pacheco, SantaFe101.com. My guest today is Maria Figliola, and she is a realtor up in Taos. Maria, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Oh, good. I loved your story before we got online here, and I always wonder. You realtors are an interesting lot. You always get to this profession through an interesting route. So tell me a little bit about your background. I know you've been in Taos for a very long time, and you are truly an expert in selling real estate there. But let's go back a little bit in time. Tell me how you got to Taos.
Oh boy. Well, I actually had the privilege of meeting an elder from Taos Pueblo in a prayer ceremony back east, and then I met him at the UN, and I was at the time just going through some grief in my life, and sat in a ceremony with him, came out to visit, and he said, you could live here. And here I was living in Tribeca, downtown Manhattan, and had a corporate job as a corporate travel agent. That's what I was doing at the UN. And I came to visit twice. And after the second visit, I moved here that November.
And that
And
was what year was that?
1987.
Wow.
And I've never looked back. It's the land is just the most amazing healer, just to be here. And now it's spring, and I look outside, the grass is starting to come up around the acequias, and the willows are turning yellow. And I feel so blessed to be here, because northern New Mexico, that I've lived in, is such a special place. And I know you grew up in Santa Fe. I landed in Santa Fe for my first year and lived there for a couple of years after that. But Taos is definitely where my heart and soul is. And I've been really blessed here. It's the people. It's, the people who choose to come here all contribute something wonderful. And I think the sense of community here is huge. And
And
yes,
you've actually raised a family there, and you have a connection to Taos Pueblo. Tell me about that.
well, my children's dad is from Taos Pueblo. So both of my children are, half Taos Pueblo. And that was an interesting experience. And I had to do the immersion program, I guess, and lived in my kid's grandpa's hogan for a couple of years, and it was very bittersweet. Just a beautiful place and beautiful people, and a lot of love and family, and a lot of respect for the earth. And if I didn't know it from my Italian grandfather, who I grew up very close to the earth around him, planting tomatoes and basil, and that we always had a summer garden, arugula, and then to be on the Pueblo, only seeing gardens way bigger, just huge gardens with the acequias running, and met my kid's dad in a sweat lodge. So, one of those kind of on my spiritual journey here.
And do you still do sweat lodge ceremonies, or are you still is that still a part of your life, that the Native
Not
American?
as much, but yes, it's always a part of my world. I haven't been in a sweat lodge in a long time, but my heart, yeah.
And your
Sitting up,
children were raised with those traditions, and
they were raised that way with their dad and their grandpas and the traditions that they had, and they also have their traditional Taos Pueblo teachings and ceremonies, which I can't be a part of.
exactly. I know that.
That's their stuff. And
Do they
yeah,
speak Northern Tiwa? Do they speak the language of Taos
my
Pueblo?
son more than my daughter. My son definitely more than my daughter.
And you have a
Because
grandchild as well, correct?
I do. I have my little Sadie, and she is going to be 3 on May 10th, and she's definitely a joy.
Well, it
So
sounds like a wonderful life. But so now let's talk about you've been selling real estate in Taos and in Taos County now for how many years?
this is my 16th year of having a license, and I worked in an office and started out there, and that was good, but I just needed to do more, to give my kids more opportunities. And also I got my license and started selling real estate, and I love it. I love people. And I think back about not just loving the land, in the National Association of Realtors, we have a preamble, and it's under all is the land. And you really feel that living in Taos. You know that you're on the land. Growing up in a city, you didn't always know that. So, and then giving back, as realtors, we really do have a bigger responsibility to give back to our community. Our industry goes beyond commerce. And I served on my board, my MLS committee, and during this crisis, our board gave, I don't know if it was $40,000 to local food banks, but that's a big part of what we do.
And you're
Some
what firm, what realty firm are you with now?
I'm with the Laura Company. I've been with Peter Laura now at the Laura Company for 10 years.
And tell me, that's
And
a boutique realtor,
it's
correct?
a boutique real estate. There's just four of us in the office, and um, it's how I like it to be. It just wound up that way. And I'm happy there. It's quiet. It's a beautiful building. My visuals are important to me. And Peter's great. He's very authentic, very honest, and definitely has a high code of ethics. He serves on the professional standard board. So I like that. I like, I like that feeling of, I know he has my back. And but otherwise, we're all independent contractors. So you really have to create your own world and create your own business. And I like people a lot. I think back as a child, I used to always look at floor plans in the back of the New York Times Magazine. And so it's kind of funny. I'd always say, "Oh, you walk in, and where's the coat closet? And where's this? Where's that?" And I love homes, and it's just fun.
Well,
Whether
tell
it's
me, what was it like, from 16 years ago to now? Tell me, how real estate has changed or evolved in Taos.
Well, okay, so 16 years ago or so, when I first started, it was much more local. We didn't have the huge websites of Zillow and Realtor.com. And um, so it was definitely much more of a local, people had to discover Taos. And the way I discovered Taos, if you think of D.H. Lawrence and Burt Phillips and how the artists first came here, they have their broken wheel story. Most of us arrived in Taos with our broken wheel story or some connection to it. It wasn't being marketed on the internet. And so from that time to now, we were the number 3 place on Forbes magazine last year to quarantine. So Taos has exploded in that way. And some of it is great. We need to progress in some ways. Some of it's a little wild and fast for people who've been here a long time. The ski valley definitely brought a lot of new commerce and a lot more building. And for the people who have skied there, a lot of them felt we needed the ski valley to upgrade. And I don't know if you know that story, but you can interview them up there. Louis Bacon bought the Taos Ski Valley from Ernie Blake, from a small family that owned it for the past 50 years. And he's he's into conservation, and but also has put a fortune into the ski valley, which has really changed a lot of it up there.
There's a
And
lot of condos and different things up there. But so what is the median cost of a home in Taos right now? Right now?
oh gosh, I should look up my statistics.
Well,
My
just more or
girl does.
less, more or less,
It's
where are you
so
at?
hard to even find a home today. There's so little inventory because people are just moving. And I think it's bigger than just Taos or Santa Fe. It's mass migration, I think, is going on. But it's hard to find a home for $300,000-400,000 today. Um, and people even looking for 5, 6, $700,000 houses. There's bidding wars going on. It's a lot of people want to be here. Through
That's kind of
COVID,
like Santa Fe. Everybody, like normal working class people, are being priced out of the market. That's happening. And
that
Taos has an airport as well, right? So people, I know that during the winter months, the ski valley up there, they have like direct flights to Houston or Austin or Dallas or so that
well,
people
they
can just
didn't
fly in
this
and
year. They didn't since COVID.
well,
Those flights,
we're talking pre-COVID
but
because right now,
normally, yes, they
yeah.
had flights Austin, Dallas, I believe it was San Diego, and one of the, not in LAX, but maybe Burbank, one of the flights was going there, and they have Taos Air. And people have found it to be great because, to land in Albuquerque is a 2.5 hour drive up here, or, Santa Fe has a couple, 1 or 2 flights a day, not very busy airport. So to
And
have
then
direct,
and so like private jets can fly in and out too. People that have the wealthier people that have homes there. Does Julia Roberts still have a home there?
I believe so, yes.
So there's
Yeah.
so the kind of the famous people have discovered it as well. What about, so I know you sell in Taos, but in Taos County, I think there's like Quemado and all. What other areas of Taos could people even look at? Because again, Taos is kind of like Santa Fe, people are being priced out of it. Are there other areas in Taos County that you would recommend?
Well, people want to be in the town of Taos, or there's, Ranchos is a little south of town. Then you have El Prado and Upper Colonias. I think the most expensive areas to get into is like Arroyo Seco, El Salto, Des Montes, because that's on the way to the ski valley.
Right.
So if, not everybody wants a condo in the ski valley, they may just want to be closer to town where you can go back and forth. And, people have had second home and vacation homes here for a long time. And we need a balance because the second homes, uh, homeowners, they support our restaurant industry, our art industry. There's a lot of support there. But a lot of people are getting priced out of a place to live. People who grew up here, the grandkids, as the generations go on, the land gets less and less because people have sold land. And so that's been hard. But
And
there are more subdivisions coming along. Different people have been subdividing some lands and building things that are a bit more affordable.
And
Try.
for people that are watching this, I mean, I still think it's amazing. So like something like the plaza, the town square in Taos to Taos Pueblo, it's not even 5 miles. Is it, how close
Oh,
is it?
it's not even 2 miles.
2 miles. And
It's
that, isn't that incredible that to live in the town of Taos, you are literally 2 miles from this ancient civilization, and people still live on the Pueblo. I think that's one of the many special things about Taos. What about rentals? Are there apartment rentals in Taos?
Well, we just had some more affordable housing and rentals built over on Herdner Road. And so I see there's a number up that's ready to go and people are moving in. We've had people who have built affordable apartments. But for the average person to go out, one of my colleagues who does rentals said not long ago that a 2-bedroom rental that used to be maybe $850 a month a few years ago is now $1,600 a month. So there's been that too, with the balance with Airbnb and short-term rentals. A lot of people would rather have their home on a short-term rental than long-term rental. And our town now has a limit on short-term rentals. They only want 120 rentals.
It sounds a lot like what's going on here in Santa Fe, only we're on a much larger scale. What about the economy? I mean, how do people live there now? Are there, I mean, let's forget that we're still in COVID, but pre-COVID, what type of jobs are out there? If somebody like, just a regular person is watching this who would like to move to Taos and they're going to need a job and they don't work remotely,
Right.
what kind of opportunities would be up in Taos?
Well, I think jobs, people, there's some companies here that have employed people a long time, the lumber companies, and they've had long-term employees there and local businesses. Uh, and then there's people who just, come here and need to start something up for themselves. If you want to really make a life, there's something about making a living, but also making a life where you're not just, living hand to mouth. There's opportunities for people to open a cleaning company, different things like that are needed here to be organized, I would think. Because
I
that's the only way to make it. Jobs, you're going to get paid, there's plenty of jobs and you could work in different places. And people sometimes want a job because they just want to work and not have to think about things.
But you're saying to be an entrepreneur, to be somebody creative, that is probably the way. Well, that sounds like you created a business for yourself as a realtor. I had heard, this was again pre-COVID, that there was only one Uber driver up in Taos.
You could be right. You could be right. And I saw it on one of the Facebook pages about that. That call so-and-so, they're the Uber driver in Taos. And
Well, I had heard that there was a woman, and that so she was older, so she would definitely take you to the restaurant for dinner, but then she'd go home and go to, she would end her day. So people would get to the restaurants, but they had no way of getting home. And so
that's really funny.
And so that's probably an area like transportation, maybe not Uber, but maybe some kind of a car service. That would be certainly, because at least you're like Santa Fe in the sense, of course, we're the state capital, so we get a lot more influx of visitors
Right.
that as well. But you have a large percentage of tourism, tourists coming to see you. So maybe like a car service, that would be something that is needed there. What about, do you have a lot of tour guides up there? I know in Santa Fe we have way too many, but are there?
I don't know that, that's funny. You should ask that. I don't remember us having so many tour guides here. We have the little chili line that would go around, but um, not so much that I know of. Yeah. But I
Okay.
think that, we have something called the Taos Entrepreneurial Network, and there's people here who would help you. Like, what kind of business do you want to do? And the other thing is we have UNM here, and we have UNM that has branch status, and it's an amazing school
And you're saying
because
the University of New Mexico, it's a
the
brand.
University of New Mexico has a branch here. They have an amazing art program. They have an amazing healing arts program, computer programs. And the beauty of it is you go in there and there's kids right out of high school. I went and took classes there, having a midlife crisis at one point, and I was sort of middle-aged. There were really young kids, and then there was like 80-year-old people in the classes. And they have, if you're a senior citizen, they have great prices per credit. So it's an amazing group of people that gather at UNM, and I feel really glad that I'm an alumni there. And our Senator Bobby Gonzalez has supported the school there, and even talked about maybe we could get some affordable housing down there, make it sort of a little bit more like a campus. Um, and that's part of being a realtor too, is like serving the board, going down to the legislature and looking at real estate and the economic impact of what it does in your community. And it really supports people. You have, whenever you sell a house, there's title company, there's lots of different people involved, maybe a handyman, maybe a roofer, maybe a contractor. There's so many different people that are involved that work. So it creates work. And
Exactly.
that's a good thing.
And then what about in terms of retirees? Do you have a large retirement community?
Yes, for sure. A lot of people have loved to retire here. People who have bought like a second home here maybe years ago and they came out to ski, or a lot of people who live in humid climates would come out all summer, and then they just really love it here. And so this becomes their main residence, after a while, or maybe it's a second home, but a lot of people choose to live here full time as they retire. It's just a wonderful place. We have this fresh air,
The
and
view
then
of Red
we have
Gorge is
we
stunning.
have great
Red
we have
Gorge,
great
it's kind of like our baby Grand Canyon. I wanted to ask you though about retirees in terms of, is there a support system for older people there in terms of medical help, and do you have good medical? What would happen if somebody wants to retire up there, but as we get older we need to have that support system. Is that in place there?
Well, we have like Taos Retirement Village, which is a place some people can go and live, and they will take you through different stages of your being old, even as far as getting, physical care there. Um,
But you have a hospital in house,
we
correct?
have a hospital, yes, but our hospital will send people down to Albuquerque if it's a heart attack and things like that. We have
It's
great
small.
doctors. We have really great doctors here because they want to live here. It's a lifestyle choice. So we have brilliant doctors here, but I think our hospital, I don't always stay up with it. It's limited as to what they'll do. If somebody really has majors, having a heart attack, they'll airlift them. We definitely have life flight, and they'll airlift them to Albuquerque down to Presbyterian or one of the bigger hospitals there.
And then you're not far from Red River, and that from what I understand, a lot of people live in Red River. They have second homes there because there's a
Yes,
ski basin there. There's
yes,
fishing there. It's a little community onto itself. Do you
it is.
know a little bit? Do you sell any real estate in Red River?
I don't. I served on the board with Linda Calhoun, who is uh, she's another realtor there, and she owns the brewery up there, and I think she's also the mayor, and it's a real small town. And so I would always send people up to Red River because I can only sell what I know, and I
Ex-
know Taos. I
No,
don't sell an Angel Fire. I lived in Santa Fe. I don't sell in Santa Fe. I refer people out because even though I lived there, and it's not my level of expertise, and the best thing I could do for a customer is to be of service to them, and the best thing I could is bring to the table my knowledge. And I know Taos really well. But Red River, Angel Fire, I'm not sure where I'm going.
So I'm wondering about Taos. It's probably a lot like Santa Fe in the sense that, or at least it used to be, that the percentage of homes sold there, or the people live in, they're usually adobe homes.
Well, that's changed a lot too, because Adobe homes, people love to have those old Adobe homes, but they're very costly to build. And, they also have to be insulated. So a lot of people built Adobe style homes with frame insulation. And, but also we have other people using things like pumice-crete and rostra block, which are alternative building materials like straw bale. And like pumice-crete has a very high R value.
What
And
does R value mean?
it's the insulation value. It's, how Adobe, we always, if you grew up with Adobe, the heat stayed in, the cold stayed out. And so to the insulation value, and there's, those products like I said, pumice-crete, which will have a very high R value, keeps the house warm. And with the costs of lumber right now, building costs have gone through the roof.
Right, and
So
so, but I mean, so you're basically, there's a lot of alternative, building methods up in town.
materials,
And,
yeah,
and
yes,
of course, I had a great interview last week. I won't go into it now, but with the Earthship people who are up there. So there's a lot of that kind of alternative building. It's been going on for years there. The interview, I told you we go real fast. Our time is up. Is there anything that you'd like to conclude with in terms of you've been in Taos for 33 years. So as far as I'm concerned, you're an expert there. I love the fact that you said that Taos and you'll refer people somewhere else. You're not going to try to be all things to all people. Is there anything else you'd like to end with, Maria?
I just think that, for people coming here, it's like learn to assimilate a little bit and be part of the land, observe how people live here. It's a little slower pace, but there's a real joy and a gift in that, because most of us came here to get away from a big city or that very fast energy. And then too many times people come here and want to change Taos and make it go quicker, and they're missing the gift. That's what I could think.
I love it. Listen, thank you so very much and all the best to you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Have a great